Crystal Beasts and the Charmer archetype share a lot in common. First, they go way back, as in all the way back to Yugioh GX days in 2006/7. Secondly, because of this fact, their support is sort of all over the place, making it difficult to build a modern deck from them. And thirdly, despite this second fact, Konami of America still decided that they should import those structure decks instead of ones that had a bit more of a chance of being meta. However, unlike Charmers, there is actually a ray of hope for the Crystal Beasts. You see, in Ghosts from the Past 2, they're getting a little piece of support that the OCG has had for years. Yes, once again it was something from the legendary Gold Box, which I think as of this set, Konami will finally have stopped drip feeding its content to us like they have been doing over the last 3 years. That card is Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon. Now if you haven't read this card yet, I do hear you all groaning. Not more support for the gimmicky Rainbow Dragon OTKs, surely. And to that I can reassure you, you won't need to summon any big dragons in this deck. Instead, it has 2 fairly irrelevant effects and 1 really good one. First, it has the usual Crystal Beast clause where, when destroyed, it becomes a continuous spell. Secondly, it has a battle phase trick where it summons itself if a Crystal Beast battles. These 2 effects likely won't come up, but being able to normal summon a Crystal Beast, then go into the battle phase and get out a 3000 attack monster in 1 special summon could be good for getting over window or something like that, I suppose. But the important effect is the following one. If it's a continuous spell, you can banish it for cost, and on resolution, special summon a negated Crystal Beast from the deck, as well as searching an ultimate crystal monster, aka a Rainbow Dragon. So in total, that's an extra monster on the field and an extra card in the hand. So why is this good? Well, first of all, you need to know that, on summon, Sapphire Pegasus can place any Crystal Beast from your deck into your spell and trap zone, getting Rainbow Dragon exactly where you need it. It'll then search a dragon and summon another Pegasus. Secondly, you need to take a closer look at Sapphire Pegasus's type, which is Beast. That alone is basically what's making these cards relevant once more in 2022. Can you guess why? Yeah, it's Tri-Brigades, the saviour of any Beast, Beast Warrior or Winged Beast deck. Just by going through that combo, you've gotten the materials needed for a Ferrigite or a Bearbrum, while adding some cards to your hand, and we all know how much Tri-Brigades need to either discard or shuffle back cards into your deck. So basically it turns out that Crystal Beasts are an amazing advantage engine for Tri-Brigades, letting them freely play through their turn without ever running out of resources, as well as having consistent starters that get you everything you need for their effects to be live. This advantage engine gets even better when you look at the Crystal Beast spells. Rainbow Bridge is a non-once per turn searcher of any Crystal Beast spell or trap, which does include Crystal Bond, which not only searches Sapphire Pegasus, but also places Rainbow Dragon as a spell, being a ton of advantage just from that one card. What also makes this better is the fact that those spells can be drawn at basically any part of your combo thanks to stuff like Ferrigite, or even another little engine I'll get to soon, meaning that the advantage can really snowball if you start resolving their effects. So the Crystal Beasts really help you power your plays, letting you run basically 9 copies of Pegasus who's already a ton of advantage by himself. But what of the Rainbow Dragon we'll be adding to our hand? Well, besides being a dark attribute, which gives us a good reason to run a Lure of Darkness in our deck for more draws, it's also a dragon, which is perfect for a little card called Branded in High Spirits. This card basically just discards Rainbow Dragon to send a Titaniclad to the graveyard, searching a Spriggan's Kit in the process. You can then summon herself and search a Branded in red, giving us a Guardian Chimera during your opponent's turn. This little Albaz engine adds a ton of power to our boards, but also you can do some fun stuff with Mercuria, another new bit of support. When banished, either by a Tri-Brigade or by the Allure of Darkness that we mentioned earlier, it does a little loop with Albion where you end up drawing a card and adding Mercuria back to your hand, being yet another interruption. Thanks to all these cards, you'll end on your usual Tri-Brigade board of, well, basically just Revolt, but backed up by a Mirror Jade and then a ton of interruption on your opponent's turn from varied sources, be it fusion spells, hand traps, and of course Shureg's Summon. And right at the heart of all that, making all of these ridiculous plays possible thanks to being an advantage generating machine, We have the Crystal Beasts finally making themselves relevant in the year 2022. Let's take a look at how they work now. Here's the deck consisting of 3 engines working together: the Crystal Beasts, the Tri-Brigades, and then the Albaz stuff. I'll start with the Crystal Beasts since that's probably why you clicked this video. For their monsters we run 3 Sapphire Pegasus, 2 Rainbow Dragon, and 1 Rainbow Dark Dragon. Pegasus is a great starter, working well as a normal summon for the deck, and we run 2 Rainbow Dragons so that you don't lose advantage if one's already in your hand. And it also gives you a second one on the field if you summon 2 Pegasi, so that next turn you'll have a backup play. Rainbow Dark Dragon is played over other ultimate crystals because it's, well, dark and also a dragon. It's a very descriptive name. Dark is good for Allure of Darkness, and Dragon is good for Branded in High Spirits, but otherwise it's also just a good card to tuck back with stuff like Bearbroom. For their spells you'll want 3 Crystal Bond, which is just free advantage, 3 Rainbow Bridge, which searches that, and 1 Crystal Promise, which is your secondary search off of Rainbow Bridge if you already used Promise this turn, basically netting you another material on the field. It's not a huge Crystal Beast engine, but it's enough to consistently access at least one part of it, and since they all lead into each other, it will get the rest of your deck going as well. Now for the Tri-Brigades, we run 3 Fractal and then 2 of the others. Oh, and then also 3 Mercuria, which I suppose is a Tri-Brigade too. Try to get Mercuria into the graveyard fairly quickly so that it can be banished to make a link monster, or otherwise try to just outright banish it with Allure, since it will then search Albion, which leads into a neat little combo. Speaking of, for our Albaz stuff, we run 1 Kit, 2 Albaz, and 1 Albion. Kit is searchable off of Branded in High Spirits, but isn't too useful without a fusion in the graveyard, which is why we only run it at 1. We run 2 Albaz because we usually end up with 1 in the graveyard and another being searched in the end phase, which fuels Guardian Chimera's summons. Albion, when searched with Mercuria, sends Branded Blade to shuffle itself back into the deck and then draw a card, and then finally Branded Blade banishes itself to add back the Mercuria, ending in a net plus in card advantage. For the remaining spells, we only need 1 Branded Fusion, which we can send off Verti Anaconda, and then 1 Branded in red, which we search off of Kit. High Spirit is one of those cards that you either want to open with or just draw into it. It isn't worth running Aluba for since he doesn't really synergize well with the deck. Allure is just 3 cards and more likelihood of getting to your other engines, while Tenki is just your 4th Fractal. Finally, Revolt is here to be searched by Bearbroom, and Blade is what you'll be sending with Albion. Now for the extra deck, unlike most Tri-Brigade lists, you'll actually be running a few fusions as well. Those are Guardian Chimera and Mirror Jade, who you'll actually be summoning, and then Nubelion and Titaniclad, who are just fodder for the other effects. Then there's the fairly standard Tri-Brigade ratios of 2 Shurag, 1 Bearbroom, and 1 or 2 Ferrigite, depending on if you want turn 3 backup plays or if you want to run something else like a Hresvelga. Then Access Code or Appaloosas are link 4s, Double Dragon as an extra interruption, and Masquerena to let you turn stuff like Verti into more interruptions. Speaking of, Verti is used to send Branded Fusion before your end phase, using Bearbroom and an Albaz to make a Mirror Jade while searching Revolt. Finally, Almaraz is here just if you bricked on a Nerval or a Kit in your starting hand, and can later be used to make a Verti. And so that's the deck. I've been mentioning their combos all along the video so far, but it won't really mean too much until you actually see them. So time to show them in action. So now it's combo time! But first, if you've been enjoying the videos so far, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. For this first combo, I want to show you what you can do with only a Pegasus and a Tri-Brigade, preferably Fractal. This is sort of the basic thing that you should aim for every turn, so it serves as the basis for everything else. Start by normal summoning Pegasus, placing a Rainbow Dragon. That will banish itself, summoning another Pegasus and searching Dark Dragon. Now discard Fractal, going through Kit and then Nerval, to end on any other Tri-Brigade. We then make Ferrigite so you can special summon the Tri-Brigade, we'll then banish 2 to get out a Bearbroom. Make a Verti, triggering Ferrigite to draw something and shuffle something else back, in this case getting rid of Dark Dragon that you searched. Now Verti sends a Branded Fusion and uses Bearbroom as an extra deck monster, while sending Albaz from your deck to make a Mirror Jade. Bearbroom then triggers to search a Revolt, putting back the extra card. Now during your opponent's turn, you can use Revolt to summon Nerval, Kit, and 2 others, making a Shurag. Nerval will search a Mercuria, giving you another interruption thanks to Mirror Jade, and Shurag will give you a Banish, ending on 2 non-targeting Banishes and a Monster Negate. Now for test hands. This time we have 2 Crystal Bonds, which are hard ones per turns, but it doesn't really matter since we shuffle back so many cards into our deck. Start with a Crystal Bond to search a Pegasus and place a Rainbow Dragon. It'll banish itself to summon a Pegasus and search a Dragon. We can now summon another Pegasus, placing a Rainbow Dragon for next turn. We then make Ferrigide, who gets out Nerval, who banishes 2 to make a Bearbrim. You can then link them away, triggering both Nerval and Ferrigide in the graveyard. Ferrigide draws a High Spirit, putting back Albaz, and Nerval adds Tri-Brigade Kit. High Spirits can now send Titaniclad, discarding Rainbow Dragon and searching Kit, who can summon herself thanks to Titaniclad. She'll then search Branded in red, returning the second Crystal Bond. Then do the same 30 play as last time to get your Mirror Jade and Revolt, returning Kit. Don't forget to place the Branded in red before ending your turn, where Titaniclad searches a second Albaz. Now in your opponent's turn, use Branded in red when your opponent has something to destroy, in order to add an Albaz back to your hand, and then use Kit, Verti, and Albaz to make a Guardian Chimera. If there was an opponent, you'd draw a card and destroy 2 cards. Now you have space to use Revolt using Ferrigide. And when the chain resolves, you'll get the usual search of Tri-Brigades, and a draw and a shuffle, before banishing something your opponent controls, all of this protected by the Mercuria in your hand. This time, I want to show off Allure of Darkness and Mercuria's interaction. We'll start with that, drawing a Fractal and a High Spirit, and banishing Mercuria will search an Albion. Albion sends Blade to shuffle itself back and draw a card, which was Rainbow Dragon. We can then banish Blade, who adds back the Mercuria to our hand, which is already 7 cards large. Rainbow Bridge searches Crystal Bond, who searches a Pegasus and places Rainbow Dragon, will banish itself for a Pegasus on the field. Now do the same High Spirits play as last turn, searching Kit will be a free material while adding back Blade. Fractal can now activate, going through the different Tri-Brigades to end on a Keras in the hand. He'll discard a Pegasus to summon himself, and then we can make a Ferrigide before banishing 2 to make a Bearbrim. Ferrigide now summons Pegasus before going into a Verti and drawing a second Mercuria, putting back Blade so that the Albion combo is usable again. We then end our combo with Verti sending a Branded Fusion, passing it to our opponent with a set Branded in red and Revolt. Once again, that gives us the ability to summon a Guardian Chimera and a Shurag on your opponent's turn, and get all of their powerful interruptions. This is once again backed up by Mercuria's Hand Trap effect. Finally, here's a hand that might look fairly bad, but actually ends up being our best combo yet. Start with Allure, banishing Mercuria while drawing Rainbow Bridge and High Spirits. Mercuria searches Albion, Albion searches Blade and draws Kit, and then Blade adds back the Mercuria. We then use Rainbow Bridge to search Bond, doing the usual searches with that, getting us a Pegasus on board and another one in the hand, along with a Dark Dragon. We'll discard that Dark Dragon with High Spirits to search the other Kit, who summons herself to search a Branded in red and return one of our 3 Mercurias. Then we make a Ferrigide, who can just summon Kit. She'll banish 2 to make a Bearbrim. After that, we can just go through the Fractal combo, ending with a search of Keras. He'll send a Pegasus for his summon, before banishing 2 to make a double Dragon. Make a Verti with Kit and Ferrigide, and then just normal summon a Mercuria to make a Masquerena. End your combo with the Verti play, getting a Lubellion and searching Revolt at the cost of having to return Mercuria. Don't worry, we'll get it back, but first we also get an Albaz thanks to Titaniclad after setting both interruptions. On your opponent's turn, you now have a ton of interaction, with very little space to make use of it. Start by making a 2-material Appaloosa, to clear out the Verti and the Masquerena, giving you 3 free zones. That will be enough to use Revolt when there's something that you want to banish, And thanks to Nerval, we also get to search Mercuria for its negate. At this point, it's up to you to decide when to use Branded in red. You'll be able to use one of the two Albazes in your hand, then for the cards on board, you could for example wait for Appaloosa to run out of negates first and Double Dragon to have already bounced using your spare Albaz, or you could even use a Sure Egg who'll give you a search of anything you want. Just make sure you do that at a time where the two destructions will be most useful, and don't forget that you'll also draw a card. And so that's the deck! Have you finally found the home for your Crystal Beast with this deck? Tell me in the comments below, and while you're down there, don't forget to like and subscribe. Special thanks to my Tier 3 patron, Distran, as well as my Tier 2 patrons Jason Merat and Violet Rain. Thanks for watching!